Okay, I hope you guys can hear me. So guys, what I'm going to be talking about today is that I'm going to be talking a little bit about boycotting, particularly, the relations with India and China, and also the skirmishes. Nice to see you, Pasang. It's always it's a pleasure to see you here. I hope you're doing well. So guys, today I feel like I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of the problems and the issues of the China and India relations, which is very important, I would say. Uh, but yes, thank you for joining, guys. I appreciate it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send this live here. Okay, all right. I'm not sure how to send this live here, but anyways. Okay, so I'm just going to go about what is the definition of boycott. Uh, well, thank you very much, Livy, Chumi. You're doing amazing, and stay safe. Yes, I will definitely stay safe, and hopefully you will stay safe as well. So, guys, this whole there's this person. Actually, if you look at the current affairs in India, okay, what is happening now is there's a lot of skirmishes, particularly in the Indian and China narrative. So there's also a trade skirmishes and problems. There's a lot of people who are talking about boycotting or stopping from buying Chinese products. So I think this seems to be a problem. Yes. So, in the current affairs of India, there has been some people who have called for all Chinese products to be boycotted. Okay. And for example, there's a couple of people who have been very adamant in advocating for boycotting Chinese products. But I would say I'll pick one of the examples. Okay, his name is Sonam Wangchuk. Okay, and I think he's from Ladakh. Okay, who has appealed to all Indian citizens and people worldwide to boycott Chinese products. Okay, so you can actually look up his videos in YouTube, by the way. I think his video is titled China Ko Jawab. Okay, it's live everywhere, man. You can definitely have a look at it. I think it's all viral, I would say. So actually, it's not like I'm not rebuttaling or I'm not coming against any of against him per se, but I just wanted to give you some of my comments on it, because what Sonam Wangchuk, what he actually appealed is that all citizens of India and people worldwide should boycott Chinese products and stop virtually financing the current military bullying in Ladakh, and the South China Sea, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quote word by word in his YouTube information that he has given us, If we, and this is he says it, If we citizens are clever, we should use our wallet power rather than leaving it totally to our armies to respond with their bullets, The bullets response is what China is looking for, as it helps unite its angry citizens to forgive the mistakes and forget the economic hardships, caused by the regime's poor handling of COVID-19. I think this narrative has been very, very prominent among many people across the world. But so basically, he wants an uprising, because he literally says here, Our wallet response of boycotting Chinese products will hurt their economy and take them by surprise, and may even lead to what they fear most, a democratic uprising and overthrow of the totalitarian regime. Okay. So this also means freedom of 1.4 billion bonded laborers, 10 million Uyghur Muslims, and 6 million Tibetan Buddhists. Okay. This is what he said. So I think you can definitely look into his, YouTube video for more content. But, actually, I just wanted to point this out. Okay. One of the problems here, I see it. Okay. One of the problems I see, okay, is that, guys. So if you look in like NDTV, Times of India, all the news channels, it's all there. Okay. So you can actually look into it. So I think the reality of this narrative, okay, the reality of this narrative is that can India sustain without Chinese goods? Okay. Can the poor Indian people, there's a lot of poor people here, can they sustain, buying like expensive products from outside? Because Chinese products are pretty cheap. So there's a lot of Indian poor people who are able to buy like a product which is half the price. Okay, then you would get somewhere from America or Australia, Europe, or Japan, or anywhere else in the world. You see. So yes, I think this is the narrative, and can India sustain without Chinese goods? I think that's the question here. And I feel like I just wanted to give you a little bit of some of the datas, okay, of what it means for China and India diplomatic and trade relationship to foster and to bond towards this new narrative that I'm putting forward. Okay, so this is a very important thing here. Okay, so actually I was just looking at my research and I found a lot of interesting data. Okay. Particularly, I actually looked up in some of the embassy websites from both India and also from China. Okay, the Chinese embassy in Delhi and the Indian embassy in Beijing. Okay, so I think I'm definitely speaking facts here. Okay, guys. So, anyways, according to my research, okay, the India and China trade. Okay, this is very interesting, guys. India and China. Their bilateral trade since the beginning of the century propelled China to emerge as our largest good trading partner by 2008. So by 2008, China and India was the highest trading partners. Okay, and I think this is one of the positions that I think China and India still holds. Okay. So in 2008, bilateral trade increased by 13.34% on a year-to-year to reach US dollar 95.7 billion. Okay, guys, I think that's a lot, right? Okay, guys. So what does it mean to boycott Chinese goods from the Chinese perspective? Okay. So if you look at the data, okay, so this is according to the Embassy of the People's Republic of China in the Republic of India, okay. So this is the embassy's website, and I'm having a look at it. And while I was actually having a look at it, this is kind of interesting. China and India bilateral trade had grown 24 times in the last 15 years, okay, from 2.9 billion in 2000. So guys, I have spoken to you about this before in my previous podcast, but let me just reiterate and let me just give you a little bit of rundown on what it means to solidify India and China's trade, ongoing relationship. So by 2015, they were trading in 71.6 billion, both of them, okay. China has become India's largest trading partner and source of imports and fourth largest export market. So why I'm getting this data is because I want people to actually realize that if you boycott so much trade volumes, so much people's livelihood. A lot of people are depending. There's also WhatsApp, you know, WhatsApp messaging, uh, you know, kind of like a boycott agenda, which has been circulating all across India. Okay, so before that, I wanted to actually highlight some of the things that what India and what China produces and sends to each other. Okay, uh, so according to the embassy, the trade embassy, okay, it reports that China imported $2 billion worth of cotton. So India produced $2 billion of cotton. So this was during 2016, okay? And also, I think it produced black tea, okay? India is usually very, famous for black tea as well. So India produced $11 million of black tea, okay, to China and sent it all across. So what does that mean? Okay, so it means it benefits 1.2 million cotton growers in India. Okay, it means 50,000 tea farmers and sellers and shops in India were benefiting from this tea trade and cotton trade all the way to China. Okay, so because you have a lot of consumers in China because of the population. Okay, and same goes with India as well. Okay, so now China has played a very important role in India pharmaceutical industry as well. Actually, China's pharmaceutical industry is much more than they give to Europe and America. Okay, India benefits more. Okay, so you all should know this. And I think there's a lot of electronic products which has been very household products which India enjoys for most part of it. Okay. So guys, these are some of the data that I've actually found. These are some of the data. Okay. And I'll just give you another data here, which I think this is very interesting. So this is from the Indian Embassy. This is from the Indian Embassy, okay? So this is India-China bilateral trade, okay? So in 2019, India exported to China, okay, $16.32 billion of goods, okay, and services to China. Whereas China had exported to India, or India's export to China, okay, was $58 billion. So in total, in 2018, the total trade for India and China, 2018 was 95.7 billion. Okay, in 2019, from January to November, it's from, I think it was $84.32 billion. Okay. So what Sonam Wangchuk said was, he doesn't want any Chinese goods. Okay, I tend to question him that what about all these goods? What about all the services that India and China has been progressing over the years, and they've been actually developing this bilateral and trade relationship. I think this is something that we ought to think about, and we ought to ponder seriously as Indian citizens, right? So I'm pretty sure as an Indian citizen, you want your country to benefit from the trade from countries who are neighboring to us, instead of calling out for a war, or calling out for a boycott, or just cutting the ties, or just putting divisive things. Okay, this is not called for, and I think this is very important. Okay. Also, I just wanted to kind of point out some of the Indian companies in China. Okay, so there's one is called Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, 2 Aurobindo Pharma, 3 Matrix Pharma, NIIT, Bharat Forge, Infosys, TCS, Aptech, Wipro, Mahindra Satyam, Reliance Industries. You have Mahindra, you have Tata Sons, Binani Cements, Isel Packaging, Suzlon Energy, etc., etc., etc. Okay. Now you have the Chinese companies, okay, in India. Okay. So for example, you have more than 100 Chinese companies in India. Okay, that's a lot of companies. We're saying more than 100 companies. Okay, for example, you use your phone, right? You have Xiaomi, you have Realme, you have Huawei, right? You have ZTE or ZTE, TCL. You have a lot of electronic products like Hair. You have Shanghai Electric, Harbin Electric, Dongfang Electric. You have Shenyang Electric, and also you have a lot of industrial companies in India by sending from China. It's Sino Steel, Shonggang International, Boshan Iron and Steel Limited, Sany Heavy Industry, Chongqing, Leifan, China Dongfang, Sino Hydro Corporation. I can go on and on and on, man. So there's so many companies in India, Chinese companies in India, and there's so many companies in Indian companies in China. So let me just put this into perspective. The reality of today's ongoing narrative, and also we are living in a very fast-paced world, right? The problem is, can India sustain without Chinese goods? Okay. Can the poor India pay for higher goods, okay, than the cheap prices that you get in China? Okay, by the way, I have to point this out here again, okay? China is the largest trading nation in goods, okay, in the world. With exports in 2015 to $2,276.5, okay? So, the exports to India, okay, accounted only for 2% of China's total export. So we're talking about India's 2% only out of all Chinese, goods comparing. So this was during 2016. I'm pretty sure it must have gone a little high as well. But nevertheless, why it will affect India more? Because the data tells that 2% won't harm China much. Okay, whereas India is still learning. India is still in the industrial phase where you have a lot of make in India, you have a lot of self-reliant India. I think this is some of the things that we need to be aware of. Okay, so can the poor Indian pay for the higher goods instead of the lower goods that China is producing and giving out? No. Okay, no way. Today we live in a world that is constantly and undeniably shrinking into a global village, okay, where our physical, our mental, our intellectual distances are coming into kind of like a unison, okay, where we're living in a global village, and we ought to understand, okay, that there's this everybody's in one global village, okay. And this is also widely acknowledged, okay, and globally recognized that the economic and the geopolitical power of the 21st century, okay, will mark, okay, the zenith of the Asian civilization. I think everybody knows that. It's just, it's a matter of when, okay. And, Asian superpowers like India and China will eventually surpass all the countries, okay, in the future to come. And India and China, we will contribute to the humanity. Okay, so this is something that we should be looking forward to. Okay, I think therefore India cannot be left behind in this, extraordinary times. Okay, so history, okay, as history of mankind has taught us, and I quote, okay. A race can withstand the onslaught of the sword and gun, but it is impossible to withstand the relentless onslaught of ideas. Okay, unquote. Guys, I'm just going to be back, okay? Okay, sorry about that. We had an intruder there. Sorry about that. So, I think India cannot be an isolationist country, and India we are facing this interconnected, we're going about, and actually experiencing this interconnected, globalized world. And I think, going back to the whole narrative of, India boycotting all the products in China, of Chinese products, I think this kind of a narrative seems to be a little, for me at least, uh, I have a question in my mind. Okay, the question is, can India sustain without Chinese products? And my answer is no. Okay, and would China be able to sustain without India's products? Personally, I think they'll be able to manage it, but I would say I think that's not the right path. Okay, and I don't think China would like it as well. Okay, and in the long run, China will definitely need India. Okay, so from my perspective, from my personal, point of view, is that uh, let's try to be a little more diplomatic on this issue here and on this narrative. Also, I think this whole India-China skirmishes and problems that has been occurring over the past couple of days and past couple of months. Um, we have to kind of like look at the brighter side, and let's all work together, and kind of move forward together. I think that'll be the best solution towards our future of humanity. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys like my video, and if you have any comments, please feel free to add. I'll be most happy to answer your questions. But anyways, I think that was my, my point of view, and yeah, let's just move forward, guys. Anyways, I'll probably hang up here, but please feel free to message me or comment if you have any topics or anything that you would like me to talk about in my next podcast. All right, okay. I'll see you guys very soon.